Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Shaq here, and welcome back to Awakening of the Rebellion, a fantastic mod for the classic strategy title, Empire at War: Forces of Corruption. If you've never played this, I highly recommend the base game and then all of the cool mods that have come out for it since. We're going to dive into this early look at version 2.9.3 of Awakening of the Rebellion. This is a media build. This is not out yet, so keep an eye on the release date of this video. If you're watching this in the far future, this version may already be out. But at the moment, this is an early look, a media build. So let's dive into some of the changes. I'm going to be using, for a lot of my examples, the Galactic Civil War Rebels versus Empire campaign. This is my personal favorite. There is another full campaign. This has Empires, the Rebel, and the Black Sun, which are a fully fleshed out criminal, like, huge criminal faction that have a bunch of other interesting units. But this is what we're going to look at. We're going to throw this on Admiral difficulty. If you're wondering, like, how hard the Empire's hitting me or anything like that, that's because we probably got it on expert, and they're overly aggressive. They're very aggressive. I won't say overly because I actually like how aggressive they are in this. Vader gets real angry and goes stomping across the galaxy very early on in expert with a fleet, and it is a very fun challenge to try to take him down. Let's turn on all the things, and we're going to look at the first and I think the biggest gameplay change to this, and that is, at least the one that everyone's going to be talking about, I think, is the research change. So in the base game, research works like this for the Rebels and the Empire. You get a series of tech levels that kind of works like an era system throughout the Galactic Civil War. In the old version, you would get Tech 1, which unlocks a handful of various fighters, corvettes, and your capital ships, and then Tech 2, and you start getting into more interesting stuff. By the end of it, you've got B-Wings and A-Wings and all of that fancy tech. Now, they've broken that system up into 3 separate categories that equate to small, medium, and large. You've got your small craft, your medium craft, and your large craft, your capitals. This system is designed to allow you to choose how you progress through the tech tree. Now, for the Empire, this actually plays a lot better. I think it helps sell the player on the idea that either you're going in the route of, say, Admiral Thrawn, and you want to focus on advanced fighters. Well, then you're going to go with those small craft, and you can kind of beeline straight for those advanced fighters. Or you want to go more Tarkin and go for those heavy capital ships. Playing as the Empire. Hi, Kyle Katarn. I guess you just got to spawn and and completely derail me. That's kind of all there is to it. They've changed the research. You can put these on any planet that you want. It's just a space research, and it's going to build a structure, and if you lose that planet, you're going to lose that level of research, just like the old tech level. When you do the research, and in this instance, I'll just grab the space tech. When you grab it, what you're going to find is you've got a few minutes, and you're going to spend 7,000 for this, and it's like 12,000 for the capital ship. You can do all of the research and get all of the same tech. Does it allow you to customize your fleet? As people have said, that's the whole point. Yes, sorta, but not in any way that you weren't doing already. I'm not quite sure exactly why this change was put in, because we already have limiting factors on what we can build and how we customize our fleets. That's called credits and your tactical and overall galactic fleet caps. Those require you to make hard choices on what ships you were building to begin with. And some will say, well, now you can focus on capital ships and you can get them earlier. And well, yes, sort of, except if you try to build the capital ships, you're going to have to spend a substantial sum of credits to get there. 12,000 in this case just to get the Tech 1, and you still have to build the advanced capital shipyards at one of your planets. I think Mon Cala would be the most direct one, which is 7,000 credits to get if you want to take advantage of those new ships that you're researching into. So you're still spending 20,000 credits to get into it, and if you want to do capitals as the Rebel Alliance, for example, you're going to be sitting there and kind of staring at your screen waiting for those credits to come in to get this research in the early game. And that may not be very exciting for you. So it is a new way of playing the game. I'm curious what you guys think. I can't wait to read your comments on how you feel about it. I think for the Empire, it makes sense. It almost feels like the Rebellion should have some other type of research that makes a little bit more sense, because at the moment, this change, I'm worried, is going to make people want to just go hard into something like, well, small or medium, and then just spam the best fighter they can get or the best corvette they can get. instead of having the, all of the options. It almost feels like a false choice. You've taken away the choices that we already had and just put them behind a series of steps. There are extra steps now to get what we already had before. Does it really add that much into it as a tactical difference? You let me know in the comments. I'm curious what you think. Does it make that big of a difference? What do you think of it? Now, the other big change, and I think this is the change that actually shakes things up, is how maps are now. So maps have been overhauled. They now sit into a variety of categories, and they have terrain that matters more than it did before. Or at least it's supposed to. There's different effects to stuff like your debris fields, your nebulas, your asteroid fields. So let's go ahead and gather a party. I'm gonna grab everybody up, and let's go to let's go to a shipyard. Let's go to Sullust. I haven't seen Sullust yet. I think that'll be an interesting map. Let's grab Rogue Squadron. Let's grab Iblis. Let's grab the A team here. And you know what? Give me the rest of the. If you hit Control and drag, you'll grab the entire groups of units. Let's grab you guys up, and let's have you all head over to Mustafar. We'll rally up there, and then we'll hit Sullust. I'll grab a Nebulon B and put him in my Pathfinder spot. At least that's what I've always called them, Pathfinders. They'll be the first ship that arrives into the battle. I use Nebulon Bs because as the Rebel Alliance, they actually have long probe Y-Wings attached to them as their fighter, as their squadron. And those are scouts. They've got a sensor package instead of the bombing capability. There is a victory class there. Do we have any other intel, or is that all we got? Oh, we actually know what they've got. They've got a Golem platform, tier 1, a victory, and it is a shipyard, so we can expect a lot of hostile ships to be coming out of that thing. Go ahead and begin. But they broke it up the planets into various types. You've got shipyard planets, economic planets, planets with hazards as a focus, low orbit, atmospheric planets. That's going to be planets like Bespin, so you're actually fighting inside the Bespin cloud, and high orbit planets, which look really good, though the skybox has been reused often. I've noticed that on a couple of worlds that they use the same planets. This is gonna be one of your low orbit planets, but it's also a shipyard. And there they are. There's the shipyard. We've also got some new indicators on the map that we've never seen before, and we've got a new description. The Sullustan militia is aligned to the Rebel Alliance. Awesome, I love it when they use some of the lore stuff. And they'll do anything in their power to keep their planet free from occupation. The Sullustans are rebelling. They know that the rebels need us. And so they've given us... Oh boy, they gave us a freighter. What? The Braille freighter is a cargo hauler. Look at those big engines on the back of it. That thing probably books it. It looks like it's got a couple of laser cannons on the top. Probably some lights, I imagine. Heavy fighter armor? Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, you know what? It's free units. I'm not gonna argue. Let's go ahead and get you guys coming over here. Let's get our long probe. Oh, new feature. Absolutely love this. They've got, if I can get a camera angle on it, they've got very either inspired by Star Wars Galaxies, I believe. It's the variants. Let me pause for a minute if I can zoom in on this. It's the variant of the long probe. They actually have a custom model for it now. It's got the wings, it's got the changed nacelles, and it's got a dish on the top, so you know that it's the long probe. It actually has a custom model for it. And these were all customization options back in the SWG days, so it's a little bit of nostalgia hit, at least for me. All right, cool little piece of detail. Let's go ahead and pop this and do a scan. Since the long probe, it has the ping ability. The shipyards actually have something going on, and it is a Star Destroyer that's capturable. So right now, nobody controls this. If we rush over here, we can claim this and use its weapons, but because it's in construction, or being repaired, it looks like it's in construction, because it's missing. Under construction, yeah, it says it on the top left. It's actually got a heavy turbo, doesn't have the ion in the front, so very, very cool. Yeah, no, it does. It has an ion and another heavy turbo. Weird that it's got heavy turbo, and then a random ion cannon on one side. Hey, these aren't the same on both sides. That's weird. So it's a little bit of extra firepower if you want to rush over and grab that. Very, very, very cool. We've also got something capturable in here. An abandoned communication array. And here's some of those new terrain effects. So let me order these guys in here.
Requesting backup.
All right, Sullust was a good choice because I'm basically going to be able to show you guys a whole bunch of the new mechanics all at once because they seem to all be represented on this map. The fact that there's a golden platform right here is a little scary. You can see it on the HUD, on the mini map. All right, let's go ahead and move in. What in the world? I guess it's the nebula effect making that noise over and over. That's really irritating. I think that's supposed to be the sound that we're being missile jammed, because the nebula has. Nebulas occasionally jam targeting systems and therefore make it impossible for missiles, rockets, and torpedoes to hit their target. So it's doing the same thing that a nebulon does for your fleet constantly. So if you're fighting against an enemy, this is also going to disable your abilities, so you have to be careful with that. But if you're fighting against an enemy that's got a couple of victory classes lobbing missiles at you, maybe hanging out inside or right along the edge of a nebula is a good idea. Also, mixed into this is debris fields. Dangerous obstacles for small ships. They will damage ships inside them and lower the defense of starfighters and corvettes due to small debris hitting them. So this is going to give, I bet you, this gives you the flak debuff when you're near ships that have flak cannons. Now, that being said, if you find asteroids, which I don't think we actually have any asteroids on this map, that's a lot. Nope, that's debris too. Asteroids do the opposite. They damage large ships, but they will give defense bonuses. So those are some of the new terrain features. So we just captured the abandoned communications array, and just like in ground battles that we've had for ages, now we can see the entire map. I love that they brought these back. I kind of missed the maps got very samey in this mod after a while, especially in a long campaign, and this is mixing that up. So you're getting a real look at a lot of the new changes in a single map. We are in really big trouble here. They've got a lot of heavy hitters. They've got a lot of extra range that we don't have. That being said, because we have that, now we can see, we could drop out of hyperspace here, dive inside the nebula, and just wreck these victories with a couple of probably dreadnoughts. Yeah, we're actually really low on firepower, so we're not going to be able to do too much against them. We don't have a big enough fleet for this. So that we've got new terrain features. We've got new events that can kick off. You can have, I've seen pirates arrive mid-battle, which you'll recognize a feature that we've seen in other mods. They could change how fights happen. You know, you get pincered between a pirate fleet that's arrived and, you know, an enemy Imperial fleet or a rebel fleet that you weren't ready for. And now you're taking fire from two different factions on two sides, and it ruins your day. That stuff can happen now. And then there's varying different looking maps. So let's go ahead and take a look at another map. Let's go look at the wheel. Can we get all the way to the maw? I'd love to go to the maw. No, let's go to the wheel. The maw's got a custom map now with a gorgeous black hole. The wheel is the proper giant gambling space station that it should be, and not this tiny little model in the background. One of the other major changes is how the AI handles its smaller forces. So you're going to find the AI will actually use their bombers and fighters a little bit better. They're actually able to micro them. Where before they'd kind of pick a target and they just go after whatever. Also, they'll start doing hit and run attacks with their gunships and their destroyers. So if you see their smaller vessels like whooshing in, doing damage and running off, that's actually a thing that'll happen. Oh, by the way, welcome to Kessel, the new map for Kessel, which the spice mines of Kessel is a nasty place, and here we are. And as for those asteroid benefits, like I said before, are dangerous obstacles for big ships. They will damage everything inside them, but also provide cover, increases the defense of all ships inside. So you're gonna get a defense bonus at the cost of slowly taking out life.
We'll lead the Alliance to victory.
All right, let's kind of gather up our force, get ready to move in. Man, I've got a lot of missile and concussion ships in the way of my R41s, and I've got my Y-Wings. We're also in the middle of a nebula, so we're gonna have to deal with that. I love the flare effect on these weird-looking rebel ships. Yeah, the gunships. So the big changes, like on this map, right? So we're at the spice mines of Kessel. Those asteroids will give you a benefit to defense, but on larger ships, they'll actually slowly tick damage. They'll start taking damage from impacts. The ion storms, where you can see the lightning going off, will do damage to ships, but they'll boost your weapons because they're powering your ships. They're giving you extra firepower, which is kind of weird. How are we gonna use that? I'm not so sure. Having a boost to offense at the cost of defense, it's a weird choice. It doesn't make. Kind of wish they had just singular, like, this does this. You want to try to avoid it or bring your enemy ships into it so you'll start doing damage to them. Because I can't think of a situation where I want an enemy ISD to up their damage at the cost of some shields or slight health damage. Like, I don't want the ISDs having any increased damage. That's horrifying. So figuring out fun ways to use these new terrain features is going to be interesting. Do you sit in the asteroids and take damage and get a defense bonus? Is the defense bonus high enough to counteract the amount of damage you're just taking? Or is it really the realm of only fighters that can use it to sneak around and get flanking attacks and stuff like ISDs and larger capital ships, which don't have a lot of like rear firepower? Who knows? Our ambush is obviously not going too well. We're about to kill a Venator, but we are going to lose one of our only capital ships at the beginning of the campaign here. Hopefully your battles go better. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the spotlight, we're going to have more on this version as I get more time playing it, and we're probably going to do a campaign at some point. There's also new versions of some of the other big mods coming out. Everybody's got a new version on the way, and it's a very exciting time for Empire at War. I love it. I love that this game, in a decade after it's come out, is gaining a larger and larger player base every year. That is the coolest thing to me. One of my favorite games is still growing. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.